Hello, in today's video we're going to be replacing the PCV valve on this Toyota Sequoia. All vehicles with an internal combustion engine will have a PCV valve or some sort of PCV system, and this is what our PCV valve will look like. And the way this valve works, it uses the engine's vacuum to pull any engine blowby or crankcase gases back in through the engine's intake or throttle body to be burned. So the first thing we'll want to do is locate this PCV valve, which will normally be located on the vehicle's valve cover or connected between the valve cover and the vehicle's intake or throttle body via vacuum hose, which on this engine is located here on the driver's side valve cover. Many times you'll find it attached via a grommet, but for this year, it's threaded on. Before starting, for this particular one, we'll want to be careful with any connectors, trying to avoid hitting them or breaking them in the process when removing this PCV valve. Now for the removal. Our first step will be disconnecting this hose that connects to it, and to do this we'll need to squeeze this clamp, and then just slide the hose off. And now we got this cover to slide off, we should just be able to lift it and maneuver it out, giving us access to our PCV valve. To remove the PCV valve, we'll want to use a 7/8 wrench to loosen and remove it. Now just slide it on, making sure that the wrench won't slip off, but this thing feels like it's going to be on here really tight, so I flip the wrench around and maneuver the other end onto the valve. And here I add another wrench for additional leverage. Also, before trying this, make sure that the wrench is on there really good and won't slip off. Now just begin to rotate it counterclockwise, and once we break it loose, we can just use the one wrench by itself, continuing to loosen it till we can remove it by hand. And now it should be loose enough to spin with the hand. And with that, our PCV valve is off. So here we got our old PCV valve, which stands for positive crankcase ventilation, which does just that, vent the crankcase. And a bad PCV valve can cause a whole mess of symptoms. So to check a PCV valve, the first thing you'll want to do is check the hose connected to it. You'll want to look for any damage to it or cracks that can cause it to leak, because if this hose is damaged, it won't provide vacuum to the PCV valve, essentially not opening the valve. And without this valve, those crankcase gases have nowhere to go, so it'll build up pressure to the point it'll find a way out. And this is one way gaskets or seals begin to leak oil due to the pressure pushing out, causing seals to get pushed out. A damaged hose will also cause issues due to it being a vacuum leak, so the car will be harder to start or not want to start at all. Then your vehicle's idle may be high because the computer will try to compensate for the leaking vacuum. Then you may also hear a hiss or a whistle. Now this valve itself can also stick. It can stick open, causing your vehicle to burn more oil than normal, rough or unstable idle, hard to start, or even misfires. Or it can also stick closed. This will also cause increase in crankcase pressure, sludge building up in the engine, black smoke, and of course it can cause oil leaks. And a quick test you can do to make sure that this valve isn't stuck is to shake it. You should be able to hear it rattle. And even though this old one does rattle, it's not quite as snappy as the new one. And as you can see, the inside of this PCV valve is pretty gummed up. So this was a good time to replace it and prevent possible problems. Another way to confirm it's working properly is to connect it back onto the hose with the lower portion off of the valve cover, or in this case, connecting the PCV valve onto the intake, which I connected here to hopefully give us a better view of the valve's operation. Now you should notice once the engine starts, the plunger should be pulled up by the engine's vacuum. And this in turn will create a suction on the bottom of the valve, which pulls up the crankcase gases. Now if you put your finger on the bottom, there should be a suction indicating proper function of the valve, and this one is working properly. On a quieter engine, you should be able to actually hear it, but this one is louder and harder to hear. So in turn I'll use this piece of cardboard to give you a better view of it creating suction effect onto the cardboard. And though we verified that this valve works, this is a piece that should be replaced regularly when you perform a vehicle's tune-up, or recommended at least every 30,000 miles. Well, let's go ahead and install our new PCV valve. We'll start it by hand first. And then tighten it with the wrench. Once you feel it start getting tight, you'll want to slow down and stop once it's orientated to where it's pointing in the same direction as when we removed it. And now we can reinstall the cover. And then reconnect the hose by squeezing the clamp as we slide it on. And with that, we have successfully replaced our PCV valve. Well, I hope you found this video helpful and informative. If so, please click that thumbs up button to support my video and my channel. And please subscribe if you haven't done so.